I remember the exact moment I thought I was going to die. I was 14 years old, lying on the cold bathroom floor of my childhood home, desperately trying to breathe. My lungs felt like they were filled with concrete. Each gasp brought in barely enough air to keep me conscious. My vision was starting to blur at the edges. My fingers were tingling from lack of oxygen. And standing over me, holding my inhaler just out of reach, was my older brother, Tyler. He was smiling. "Gasp, loser," he sneered, waving the blue inhaler above my head like a trophy. "Look at you, so pathetic. Can't even breathe without your little helper." I tried to reach for it. My arm felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I couldn't speak, there wasn't enough air in my lungs to form words. All I could do was wheeze and gasp and pray that someone would help me. Tyler just watched. For what felt like an eternity, he watched me struggle on that cold tile floor, and he laughed. My name is Ethan, and that day changed my life forever. Not because of the asthma attack itself, I'd had plenty of those before. It changed me because that was the day I realized something terrifying about my own brother. He didn't just dislike me. He didn't just enjoy tormenting me. He was genuinely capable of watching me suffer, possibly even watching me die and feeling nothing but amusement. That was 15 years ago. Last month, I sat in a courtroom and watched that same brother tremble before a judge. I watched the smirk finally disappear from his face. I watched him realize that after years of cruelty, manipulation, and lies, the truth had finally caught up to him. And I was the one who made sure it did. This is the story of how my brother tormented me for years, how our family enabled him, and how I finally got the justice I had been waiting for since I was 14 years old. But first, you need to understand the family I grew up in. You need to understand how Tyler became the monster he is, and why no one ever stopped him. Tyler was 3 years older than me, and from the day I was born, he resented my existence. My parents always said he was just going through a phase. They said older siblings often struggle when a new baby arrives. They said he would grow out of it. He never did. Tyler was the golden child in our family. He was athletic, good-looking, and charming, at least when adults were watching. He played football in high school and was scouted by college teams. My parents lived for his games. Our living room was a shrine to his trophies and medals. I was different. I was small for my age, with severe asthma that kept me from playing sports. I was quiet, bookish, more interested in computers than football. To my parents, especially my father, I was a disappointment. "Why can't you be more like your brother?" Dad would say. "Tyler never makes excuses. Tyler pushes through. You just give up. Give up." As if my asthma was a choice, as if struggling to breathe was somehow a character flaw. Tyler picked up on this quickly. He learned that he could do almost anything to me, and our parents would either ignore it or blame me for provoking him. He would shove me into walls and claim I tripped. He would destroy my things and say I lost them. He would call me names: weakling, loser, waste of space, and our parents would tell me to stop being so sensitive. But the worst torment always involved my asthma. Tyler quickly figured out that my inhaler was my lifeline. Without it, I was helpless. So he made a game of hiding it, stealing it, holding it hostage. He would wait until I started wheezing, then dangle it in front of me. "Beg for it," he would say. "Get on your knees and beg, and maybe I'll give it back." Sometimes I begged, sometimes I cried, sometimes I just collapsed and hoped he would get bored before I lost consciousness. When I told my parents, they didn't believe me. "Tyler said he was just playing around," Mom would say. "You're exaggerating, Ethan, brother's roughhouse." It's normal. Normal. There was nothing normal about what Tyler did to me. But the day on the bathroom floor, that was different. That was the day Tyler crossed a line that even I, at 14, knew was unforgivable. Because that day, my mom actually saw what happened. And she still chose to do nothing. It started like any other asthma attack. I was in my room doing homework when I felt that familiar tightness in my chest. The weather had been changing, and my allergies had been acting up all week. I reached for my inhaler on my nightstand. It wasn't there. My chest tightened further. I started to wheeze. I searched my desk, my backpack, under my bed. Nothing. The attack was getting worse. I stumbled into the hallway, heading for the bathroom where I kept a backup inhaler in the medicine cabinet. Tyler was waiting for me. He was leaning against the bathroom door frame, tossing my backup inhaler from hand to hand like a baseball. The smirk on his face told me everything I needed to know. "Looking for something?" he asked. I couldn't answer. I was gasping too hard. I pushed past him into the bathroom, hoping he would just let me grab it. But he followed me in and shut the door behind us. "You know the rules, Ethan. You want this? You beg." I shook my head. I was so tired of begging, so tired of being humiliated. Even as my lungs screamed for air, some part of me refused to give him the satisfaction. Tyler's eyes narrowed. "No? Fine. Then we wait." My legs gave out. I collapsed onto the cold tile floor, wheezing, gasping, feeling my consciousness start to fade. This attack was worse than usual. Much worse. I genuinely thought I might not survive it. That's when Tyler leaned down and whispered those words I will never forget. "Gasp, loser. Look at you." So pathetic. The bathroom door burst open. It was Mom. She had heard me wheezing from downstairs and came to check. For one moment, one brief, hopeful moment, I thought everything would finally change. She saw Tyler standing over me with my inhaler. She saw me on the floor, barely breathing, turning blue. There was no way to misinterpret what was happening. "Tyler!" she screamed. "Give him the inhaler." Tyler dropped it like it was nothing, like we had just been playing a game that got a little out of hand. Mom rushed over and helped me use it. Slowly, painfully, my breathing returned to normal. I looked at her with desperate, pleading eyes. "Mom," I wheezed. He wouldn't give it to me. I could have." "Shh," she said. "You're okay now. Let's not blow this out of proportion." Blow this out of proportion. Tyler got a lecture. A stern talking to. And then life went back to normal for everyone except me. That was the day I stopped trusting my family. That was the day I started planning my escape. From that day forward, I focused on one thing: getting out. I threw myself into my studies. I learned everything I could about computers and programming. While Tyler was partying his way through high school, I was building websites and learning to code. While he was getting scholarships for football, I was getting scholarships for academics. The day I turned 18, I left for college and never looked back. I chose a university on the other side of the country, as far from my family as I could get. I changed my phone number. I didn't come home for holidays. I cut contact with everyone. My parents called it dramatic. They said I was holding a grudge. They said Tyler had matured and I needed to forgive and move on. I ignored them all. College was a revelation. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the weak one. I wasn't the disappointment. I was just Ethan, a smart kid with good ideas and a future ahead of him. I graduated with honors. I got a job at a tech company, then another, better job. Then I started my own company. By the time I was 28, I had built a successful software business worth several $1,000,000. Meanwhile, Tyler's life had gone in the opposite direction. His football career ended with a knee injury in college. Without sports, he had nothing to fall back on. He bounced from job to job, relationship to relationship. He started drinking. He got into debt. He became exactly what he always accused me of: being a failure. But Tyler being Tyler, he refused to accept responsibility. In his mind, he was still the golden boy, just temporarily down on his luck, and when he heard about my success, he saw an opportunity. That's when he came back into my life, uninvited and unwanted. And that's when everything changed. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning. I almost deleted it without reading. I didn't recognize the address, but something made me open it. Maybe curiosity, maybe intuition. "Hey, little brother. Long time no talk. I heard you're doing pretty well for yourself these days. That's great. Family should be proud of family, right? Listen, I've got this business idea I think you'd be interested in. It's a sure thing, guaranteed returns. I just need some startup capital. Maybe we could talk? I think it's time we let the past be the past. Your brother, Tyler." I stared at the screen for a long time. Let the past be the past. As if the past was just some minor disagreement. As if he hadn't tormented me for years. As if he hadn't stood over me while I nearly suffocated and laughed. I didn't respond. But Tyler didn't give up easily. More emails followed. Then phone calls to my office. He had somehow gotten the number. Then he showed up at a tech conference where I was speaking, waiting outside the venue. "Ethan, buddy." He spread his arms like we were long-lost friends. "Come on, man, you can't avoid me forever. We're family." "We're not family," I said. "Not anymore." His smile flickered. For just a second, I saw something cold behind his eyes, something familiar, the same look he had when he held my inhaler out of reach. "That's pretty harsh, little brother. All I'm asking for is a conversation. And I'm saying no. Stay away from me, Tyler. I walked away. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Over the next few months, Tyler escalated. He started posting about me on social media, claiming I had abandoned our family, that I had forgotten where I came from, that I was too greedy to help my own brother. He contacted my business partners, trying to plant seeds of doubt about my character. Then he did something unforgivable. He forged my signature on a loan application, using my identity and credit to take out $50,000. When I found out, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not just anger, purpose. Tyler had finally given me the ammunition I needed to do what I should have done a long time ago. I was going to take him down, legally, permanently, and publicly. I hired the best attorney I could find, a woman named Sandra Chen who specialized in fraud and identity theft cases. The identity theft alone is enough for criminal charges, she told me, but I sense you want more than that. I want everything, I said. I want people to know exactly who he is. Sandra nodded. Then we build a comprehensive case. We don't just prosecute, we document. A pattern of behavior, a history of abuse and manipulation. We make sure that when this goes to court, everyone sees the full picture. That's exactly what we did. I spent weeks gathering evidence. I pulled out old journals from when I was a kid, pages and pages documenting Tyler's abuse and my parents' indifference. I found medical records from my asthma attacks, including one from that bathroom incident that required a follow-up doctor visit. I tracked down old classmates who had witnessed Tyler's bullying. I found teachers who remembered being concerned about me. I even found a neighbor who once saw Tyler lock me outside during winter without a jacket. But the most powerful evidence came from an unexpected source. My mother. Years ago, she had sent me an email during one of her periodic attempts to reconnect. In it, she admitted, perhaps without realizing the significance, that she knew Tyler had gone too far sometimes, but that she didn't want to tear the family apart by making a big deal of it. In writing. She admitted it in writing. Sandra's eyes lit up when she saw it. This is gold. This establishes that they knew about the abuse and chose to enable it. As for the identity theft, the evidence was overwhelming. Tyler had been sloppy. He used his own IP address when submitting the fraudulent loan application. He had the money transferred to an account with his name on it. He even bragged about his windfall on social media. I filed criminal charges. I filed a civil lawsuit for damages. And I made sure that when Tyler's court date arrived, he would face not just the legal consequences of his fraud, but the full weight of everything he had done to me over the years. The smirking bully who once held my life in his hands was about to learn what it felt like to be powerless. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. I sat on one side with Sandra. Tyler sat on the other with a public defender. He couldn't afford anything better. Our parents were there too, in the gallery, looking confused and uncomfortable. When Tyler walked in, he tried to catch my eye. He even had the audacity to give me a small nod, like we were old friends meeting for lunch. The smirk was still there, dimmed but present. He still thought he was going to get away with this. The criminal case was presented first. The evidence was irrefutable. Tyler's own digital footprint condemned him. When the prosecutor showed the fraudulent loan documents with my forged signature, Tyler's attorney barely offered a defense. There was nothing to defend. Tyler was found guilty of identity theft and fraud. The smirk flickered. Then came sentencing, and that's when Sandra made her move. She presented our civil case alongside a victim impact statement, but it wasn't just about the money. It was about everything. She read excerpts from my childhood journals. She showed the medical records. She read my mother's email, admitting they knew about the abuse. And then she played an audio recording. Years ago, when Tyler first contacted me asking for money, I had recorded the call. On it, he laughed about the good old days and said, "Remember when I used to hide your inhaler? Man, the look on your face, classic." He admitted it. He admitted it and laughed about it. The courtroom was silent. I looked at Tyler. The smirk was gone. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in my brother's eyes. Not the fake fear of consequences, real fear, the fear of someone who has finally been seen for exactly what they are. The judge sentenced Tyler to 3 years in prison for the fraud, plus restitution. The civil court awarded me damages for emotional distress, a symbolic amount, but meaningful. As Tyler was led away, he turned to look at me one last time. His face was pale, his hands were trembling. "Ethan," he croaked, "please, I'm your brother." I looked at him, really looked at him, and said the words I had been waiting 15 years to say. Gasp, loser. Then I turned and walked away. My parents tried to talk to me outside the courthouse. "Ethan, wait," Mom called out. "This has gone too far. He's your brother. He made a mistake." I stopped and turned to face them. "A mistake?" I repeated. "He tormented me for years. He nearly let me suffocate. He stole my identity and committed fraud. And you call that a mistake?" "You're exaggerating again," Dad said. "You always—" "No." I cut him off. "You don't get to do that anymore. You heard the recording. You heard him admit what he did. You read Mom's email admitting you both knew." I looked at my mother. "You saw him standing over me that day in the bathroom. You saw me on the floor, barely breathing. And you did nothing." Mom's face crumpled. "I was trying to keep the family together." "You were trying to protect Tyler," I said. "You always protected Tyler, and you sacrificed me to do it." There was nothing more to say. I walked to my car and drove away. My parents have reached out several times since then. They want to talk things through. They want me to consider Tyler's side. They want family therapy. I haven't responded. Maybe someday I'll have that conversation. Maybe someday I'll find it in myself to hear them out. But right now, I need distance. I need to heal. I need to finally live my life without the shadow of my brother and my parents' enabling hanging over me. For the first time in my life, I feel free. So what's the lesson in all of this? First, that abuse thrives in silence. For years, Tyler got away with tormenting me because no one held him accountable. Our parents looked the other way. Extended family didn't want to get involved. I was taught to minimize my own suffering for the sake of family harmony. That silence empowered Tyler to escalate. Second, that success is the best foundation for justice. I couldn't have fought back as a child. I was powerless. But by building my own life, my own success, my own resources, I gained the ability to finally stand up for myself. Education, hard work, and independence gave me the tools I needed. Third, that documentation matters. I kept those childhood journals because writing was how I processed my pain. I never imagined they would become evidence in a courtroom, but they did. If you're being mistreated, document everything. Write it down. Save messages and emails. You never know when you might need proof. And finally, that sometimes family is not worth saving. Society tells us that blood is thicker than water, that we should forgive family no matter what. But some relationships are too damaged to repair. Some people are too toxic to keep in our lives. Walking away isn't giving up, it's choosing survival. Tyler will be in prison for the next 3 years. When he gets out, he'll have a criminal record, no money, and no family willing to enable him anymore. Maybe he'll finally be forced to take responsibility for his actions. Maybe he'll change. But honestly, that's not my concern anymore. My concern is living my life, the life I built despite everything he did to tear me down. My concern is being happy, being healthy, being free. Because in the end, the best revenge isn't just seeing your abuser face consequences. It's thriving anyway. Thank you for watching until the end. This story is a reminder that no matter how dark your past, you have the power to build a brighter future and sometimes to finally get the justice you deserve. If this video moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories of betrayal, survival, and justice. Your support means everything to us. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had to stand up to someone who mistreated you as a child? I'd love to hear your story. Remember, your past doesn't define you. Your strength does. Until next time, stay strong and never let anyone make you feel small.